Hey, I have a question for you. In a world so full of insanity, how do you maintain your sanity? A lot of people have a hard time with this. I'm on Facebook a lot, probably more than I should be, and I see a lot of postings about people who are just having all kind of conflict in their lives. A lot of it is mental conflict. It's things that they're internalizing. Now, to be clear, I'm not a therapist. I have no training. I have powers of observation, though I see things, as do all of you all. So I see these postings by people, and it's the same problems over and over again. And a lot of it has to do with the mistakes they make that they keep repeating, but a lot of it has to do with the fact they can't let something go neither. Now, I think people have different ways of finding peace, so I'm going to talk about what I have noticed. Solitude. Number one, solitude. Now, you can't live a life in solitude. We're not designed to live that way. We're designed to be a communal people, to interact with each other. I mean, that's what families are about. That's the core of the communal community is the family. But I have found, I watch a lot of YouTube videos on homesteading. I love it. I love nature. I love watching people have a certain amount of autonomy, doing their own thing, not being hooked up to the grid so much. And but one thing, just a side note that I found out, there are some things I like the idea of more than doing. In other words, I'm not going to do all that work. I don't have stamina, the energy. I have a full-time job, and even if I wanted to, I couldn't. A lot of these guys that I'm seeing, that is what they do all day. And I'm not dissing them, I'm just, stating facts. And again, it's just a little sidetrack I went on. So, solitude. About these videos I was telling you about, homesteading, these people connect with nature. They plant things, they work with their animals. Another way to connect with nature is to go camping. Go out to the forest, to the woods, campgrounds by the lake, to the beach, to the mountains, which is my favorite place, and go camping. Now, my version of camping is being away from other people. I want a campsite that is at least somewhat secluded. So those are the kind of places that I look for. I'm surrounded by woods here. Where I live, this is, matter of fact, you can see my old ride lawnmower right there that somehow managed to sneak into the shot, and it's just there. I live out in the country. One of the reasons we moved out in the country is because I don't like cities. I don't like city life. I don't like crowds. I don't like being in crowds of people. I'm okay with people. I don't, not like people or hate people or nothing like that. I just don't like crowds. This is one path to sanity, is to get away from the city, to get away from the high crime and the high stress. Again, getting back to solitude. I have friends, they understand this, they go camping. I have one friend of mine named Mark. He has 2 young children. And he'll just load them up in a camper and they'll go to a state park nearby, no more than an hour to an hour and a half away. He's either at the lake, the beach, maybe even the mountains, which is a little further. He understands it, he gets it. And there's a YouTube channel that I've recently run across. And it's this guy in Norway, and he's Norwegian, he's got a Norwegian accent, and there's times when he messes up his English. And I think his name is Bjorn, or Bjorg, Bull-Hansen. So he does these videos on just bushcraft, camping. He'll make a little campfire, and he's video, taping this whole thing. And I thought about doing the same thing with a campfire here, but it's starting to get dark and time is getting away from me. And he'll make a little bit of coffee, he'll sip on his coffee, and he may even make some bacon. And he'll just talk about solitude, getting away from the crowd, men's mental health issues. And as a matter of fact, I'll post a link below, and you can look at him or not. I did a little research on this guy. Turns out he's like a best-selling writer of books in Norway. He writes Viking fiction. He's a pretty cool dude. I like watching him. But one thing that he really, really pounces on and gets right is the fact that people need a connection to nature. They need to get away from the cities. They need to go out where nature is. The best way to find peace, aside from probably ignoring the news, is to just find solitude somewhere away from other people. My preference, the woods behind me. There's several acres here. I can just walk back there, find a place to sit and think and meditate and pray and not think at all. Just nothing. And it's just a good, relaxing thing to do. Also, I ride a motorcycle. And getting out on the country roads and just riding by myself, in the wind therapy right there, my friend. Not everybody can afford a motorcycle, and I understand that. And mine's paid for, so I'm good. I'll tell you another thing. People's religion can be a source of peace. For others, it's a source of problems. This right here gives me peace. I can read it, I believe it, and I know how everything ends. So even when I'm in times of turmoil, I know how it all ends. God is a God of love and justice, and He will make things right. If I'm wrong, He'll make me right. And so it all ends in His hands, and He will take care of things. Some people have religions that are violent bent, and I'm not going to name them, but most of y'all know who they are. And but then again, there are extremes to any religion. Christianity had the same problem for a long time. The extremes, which weren't many, but made the most noise. So, you know, we've had that issue too. But I guess the point of what I'm trying to say is, go find you a place by yourself. Just, you know, I've seen churches that have prayer gardens. I think this is neat. You just go out somewhere where they've got a little garden behind a church and pray, meditate, just sit, not think, whatever. Same thing with what I say back here. Just walk off into the forest, walk off into the woods. You know, of course, you don't want to trespass on someone else's land. State parks around here are awesome. They're beautiful. Me and my friend who ride motorcycles, I will refer to him as my road dog, Bobby. Years ago, probably about 13, we rode our motorcycles up to the Cherokee Reservation in North Carolina. I say up because I'm in South Carolina. And we camped. It was a Cherokee Survivors Rally is where we were going to. And we stayed at a campground. And it was right where two creeks met together. And that's where they put us at. And that's where we put our tents at. And that was the best thing. Just, you slept, you had that creek going, you could hear that. When I was in the Army, I went to Panama for jungle training. And our barracks was right by the ocean. And at night, you could hear the waves because the barracks were open. There were screens, but there were no windows. Had, I can't think what they're called now, but big coverings over the windows that the rain would hit and deflect off of. And you can, well, for the hard work, would put you to sleep for a fact. But also you could hear them waves just lapping all night long. And that was like a lullaby. These are things that give a person peace. Everything that I've mentioned gives a person peace. And you can tell who has peace in their lives and who don't just by listening to them. It really does not take long to figure out. And I'm not one to judge people and point fingers and all that stuff. But I got to ask you, how do you find peace? Or do you? Are you finding peace? Are you finding yourself in turmoil all the time? Look at the decisions you're making, number one. And you may be not making those bad decisions anymore, but these things have to work themselves out. Meanwhile, take a walk in the woods. Take a walk on the beach where there's no people. Go to the mountains. Sit out in your backyard where there's no noise at if that's possible. And you know what? I say enjoy life the best you can. Not all of us can do that. Many of us are in situations that are not enjoyable, but you still make the best of where you're at and spring forward from there. And matter of fact, I think that's what we're going to leave you at. Right now, wherever you are, grow and spring forward from there. Y'all, God bless.